I lost a bet with my friends. The penalty was 10 spins on an office chair. A few rotations in, I didn't feel dizzy. Just a sudden, sharp, searing pain. The chair collapsed. A gas lift cylinder shot straight through the seat and unexpectedly into my ass. My friends rushed me to the ER, and after a triage, nurse with zero pity sent me to colorectal. I dropped my pants for the doctor. That's when I heard a woman's voice say, "Okay, I need you to get your butt in the air." Excuse me. I mumbled into the paper-lined pillow. Is there a male doctor available? She watched me, then pulled down her surgical mask. Liam Carter, she said, her voice dripping with ice. 5 years, and this is where you end up. Left me just to get your ass blown out by someone else? It was Maya Reed. My ex-girdling pants off, ass up. Maya stood beside the examination table, her voice as sterile and cold as the instruments beside her. I was lying on my side, my head spinning and a 5-alarm fire raging in my rear end. But her voice jolted me more than the pain. It was a voice so familiar, it made the hair on my arms stand up. I hesitated, then craned my neck to look at her as she removed her mask. In the next second, I nearly launched myself off the gurney. My movements paused for a fraction of a second. She raised an eyebrow, her gaze locking onto my mouth. A cold smirk played on her lips. She snapped on a pair of blue latex gloves and walked to the business end of my problem. 5 years, huh? Who if he couldn't handle a clean breakup, so he had to literally break your ass? His situation was, to put it mildly, deeply awkward. In my 27 years of life, I never imagined our reunion would happen this way. I certainly never imagined she would be the one to personally suture the hole an office chair pole had punched through my dignity. 3 hours earlier, I was at a friend's birthday party at a rooftop bar in Wicker Park. I lost a game of truth or dare, and my punishment was to spin on a cheap office chair they dragged out to the patio. I hadn't even gotten up to speed when the chair made a sickening crack. The pneumatic lift rod failed and shot straight through the plastic seat. A wave of excruciating pain hit me, and a squint echoed across the Chicago skyline. There was blood. There was a frantic Uber ride to the hospital. And because my friend is a streamer who never stops recording, the entire thing was broadcast live for 3 hours. My humiliation was trending on Twitter. The hashtag #FrownWhiteface, hashtag streamer wipeout bod, plus the internet, and now here I was, ass in the air on an ER table. Maya Reed stood behind me, wielding forceps and a suture needle, preparing to work on me like I was a torn piece of upholstery. "Does it hurt?" she asked flatly. I gritted my teeth. "Wow. A little, honestly." The shame was worse than the pain. She said, her voice betraying no emotion. "Well, you'll just have to bear with it. Can't you be a little more gentle?" I complained. She didn't answer, but her hand still. The next second, the needle jabbed with surgical precision, but this time it felt dangerously close to my left testicle. "Jesus," I yelped, nearly levitating off the table. "Was that on purpose?" He calmly snipped a thread. "Don't be dramatic. I've always kept my personal and professional lives separate." "Oh, really? And which part of that last stitch was professional? Are you trying to turn me into a eunuch while I'm helpless?" She let out a dry, humorless laugh. "What exactly do you want from me, Leo? You want me to stitch with feeling? You're really into some kinky stuff now, aren't you? First this, now you want a back alley castration?" I squeezed my eyes shut, repeating a mantra of, "Just get through this." I was injured, at her mercy for the sake of my recovery. I had to eat this slice of humble pie to distract myself and cut through the thick, awkward tension. I finally asked the question clawing at my throat. "So, when did you get into this field? Colorectal surgery?" She didn't look up from her work the year you left. I changed my specialization. Why? Because I had a feeling that one day a man like you would end up on my table needing his ass sewn shut. She said it so casually. I could practically hear her grinding her teeth. 5 years ago, we were everything to each other. She was the star intern at the medical college, always in a simple dress, her long dark hair pulled back. A quiet shadow of support at my side. She never picked fights. Just took care of everything with a quiet competence that baffled me back then. My tech startup had just imploded. I was drowning in debt. It was Maya who secretly worked night shifts at a clinic, using her eager resident salary to keep us afloat. I was going to marry her. I thought we were unshakable, and one day, she vanished. Her phone went straight to voicemail. She blocked me on a message. She was gone from our apartment. I went half crazy trying to find her. I filed a missing persons report. I called every hospital in the state looking for a gene, though nothing. She had completely, utterly disappeared, as if she'd been erased from existence. I broke. I spent a week at the bottom of a whiskey bottle, then I deleted every photo of her and swore I would never say her name again, and now here she was, standing behind me, her words like daggers, but her fingers methodically stitching together the most embarrassing wound of my life. I had to ask, "Are you doing okay?" She didn't reply, but the next stitch felt just a little bit lighter. 10 minutes later, Maya stripped off her gloves, snipped the last thread, and clapped her hands together. All done. I slowly, carefully sat up. My backside felt like it was sitting on a hot plate. Stick to a high-fiber diet for the next few weeks, Dawn. To get constipated, she said. All business and no strenuous exercise for a month also. No insert IV activities of any kind. I stared at her, my face burning. She paused, then added, "And that includes any solo projects." My face felt like it was gonna explode. "Maya, what the hell is wrong with you?" She just shrugged, tossing my chart onto my lap. "I'm just a doctor," she said coolly. That, as standard medical advice. As she turned and walked out the door, it hit me. I hadn't forgotten her at all, not even a little, but seeing her again, I couldn't even manage to choke out the one thing I wanted to say. "I miss you." I glanced down at the chart. Her signature was there, written in a clear, decisive script. Attending physician, Dr. Maya Reed. In the notes section, she'd added a special comment. Patient presents with no loss of sphincter function salvageable. That little monster. I was gonna kill her. I thought our reunion was just a one-off, a freak accident. But when I came back for a follow-up check 2 days later, there she was again. She was the one changing my dressing. And once again, from behind a mask, her voice was cold as steel. "Drop your pants ass up." I gritted my teeth at this point. What dignity did I have left to lose? "Did you rig the schedule?" I asked through clenched teeth. "So you could get your kicks watching me bend over for you every other day." She snipped a piece of gauze without looking at me, her tone sharp. "You really overestimate your appeal. I'm the only surgeon on call for colorectal emergencies tonight, trust me. Nobody's lining up to see your ass. Besides, what part of you haven't I seen before? You seemed pretty interested yesterday." "I'm a doctor," she said, finally looking up. Her eyes were like a geologist studying a rock formation. "You're a patient. We need to have a talk about medical ethics." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She ignored me, expertly applying a new dressing before turning to leave. As she reached the door, she paused. "Next time, come in earlier. Try not to get carried in on a stretcher. I'd rather not see you every time with a rear end covered in blood." A bitter laugh escaped me. "I thought you never wanted to see me again at all." She paused, her back to me. "I never said that," she muttered. And then she was gone. The hospital corridor was a low hum of activity, sunlight filtering through the windows of the nurse's station. I was perched awkwardly on the edge of a waiting room chair, my ass still too sore to sit properly. The gossip of 2 nursing students drifted over. "Did you hear about Dr. Reed? 5 years ago, she took a sudden leave of absence to go abroad. I heard it was for a liver donation." "Seriously? Who for?" "Her dad." I was still a Prince student then, But my attending told me the story her father had late-stage liver cancer and needed an urgent transplant. Dr. Reed was a match, so she just left, didn't he even attend her own graduation ceremony. My entire body went rigid in that single moment. All the jagged, broken pieces of the last 5 years slammed together. She didn't dump me. She went to save her father, and what did I do? While she was being prepped for surgery, I was posting a passive-aggressive status on Facebook. Here's to you and your new life, be happy. I got a bunch of likes from our mutual friends, including the guy I always suspected was waiting in the wings, her senior resident from the hospital. I deleted our photos. I smashed the necklace I'd given her. I didn't even listen to the last voicemail. She left me before I blocked her number 3 days after she disappeared. I put our apartment up for rent and threw a box of her things, including a cherished medical textbook, into the dumpster behind our building. Thinking back on it now, I was a monster. I complete and utter bastard. Without an appointment, I knocked on her office door. She was at her desk typing up patient notes. She looked up. No mask this time. An annoyed expression on her face. Your next dressing change isn't until Thursday. I came to talk, I said, my voice barely a whisper. She put down her pen and leaned back, studying me. About your recovery? Don't worry. My stitching is solid. You were not qualified to pop a suture. I swallowed hard. Maya, why didn't you tell me? Tell you what. How many days until you're fully healed? Whether it will leave a scar? Why you left me? I managed to say, my voice cracking as my eyes burned. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she smiled. It wasn't a mocking smile. It was a sad, tired, bitter thing. Was I supposed to tell you, Liam? She said your company had just gone under. You were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debts. Your landlord was threatening to evict you if I had told you my dad had cancer and I needed to go abroad to give him half my liver. What would you have done? Sold a kidney on the black market. She shook her head. I know you don't make empty promises, she sighed. You're the kind of idiot who would destroy himself before you'd let me get hurt. I was silent. She was right. But she didn't know me completely. She should have known that not telling me was the one thing that would hurt me the most. I looked for you for a long time, I said quietly. I filed a police report, called every hospital. I even sat outside your parents' house for days. She shook her head. If you really wanted to find me, you wouldn't have changed your phone number. I was afraid that if I called one more time, I'd hear you tell me to get lost. So you were afraid of getting dumped, and you staged a whole drama where you were the one who walked away first? She stared at me, her voice quiet but piercing, hitting me to the spot. Liam, you thought you were protecting your pride, being noble, but the truth is, you were just being a coward. I looked up, wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. She studied me for another moment, then her expression softened, almost imperceptibly. Have you eaten? I asked. If you've eaten, she repeated, getting up and walking toward the door of the hospital cafeteria. To have some chicken breast, can you handle that? I blinked. Stunned, yeah. But my ass. Then eat something light? She paused at the door, her back to me. Just sit down slowly. I'll get it for you. For a split second, I had this dizzying feeling of déjà vu. It was like the Maya from 5 years ago was back. Gentle but stubborn, with a sharp tongue and a soft heart, hating you 1 minute and making sure you'd had lunch the next. I looked down at my own slowly healing wound, and I realized that compared to that gash, the real wound that had been ripped open was the I'm sorry I had never said. Maya really did come back with a container of chicken broth. Steam rose from it as she set it down in front of me. Careful. It's hot. Eat slowly. I nodded, taking a spoonful. She watched me for a few moments from across her desk, as if to make sure I wasn't going to choke before turning back to her computer. Watching her, I couldn't help but ask, these last few years, have they been okay for you? Being alone? Her fingers paused on the keyboard. I survived. Are you seeing anyone? She tilted and turned around. Why are you asking? Don't I have the right to ask? You lost that right a long time ago. The words were a needle in my throat. I put the spoon down, my voice dropping. Well, do you still hate me? She stopped typing and slowly swiveled in her chair to face me. There was no anger in her eyes. Just a profound weariness that silenced me, Liam. I don't have the energy to hate you anymore. She let that hang in the air. Then added, or the time. I was about to ask what she meant when a sharp knock came at the door. Maya. Ready to head out? A deep, steady voice. The door opened, and a man in a white coat and gold-rimmed glasses walked in. He was tall with a kind, handsome face, the quintessential heir to a medical dynasty type. He saw me and his brow furrowed slightly, his gaze instinctively flicking down to my chair. I immediately tried to sit up straighter, forgetting I couldn't, and let out a sharp hiss as the wound pulled. My aide exasperated, I gritted out. I told you to sit slowly. It hurts. But I wanted to look presentable. The new guy approached, his tone polite. And this is a patient? Liam Carter, Maya introduced him calmly. Oh, the man nodded. Then a look of recognition dawned on his face. He chuckled. You, right? The one from that last stream accident, right? My dad actually brought up your case in a department meeting. Said it was a perfect example of why public facility safety is so important. My face darkened. Thanks, buddy, real nice of you. Your dad uses my ass as a cautionary tale in a meeting and you bring it up to my face? Great. Maya ignored him, gathering her things. Let's go. I'm off. Of course, the man gallantly took her bag and, in a move that felt far too natural, placed a hand on the small of her back. She didn't pull away. I sat there frozen, like I'd been struck by lightning. A single thought echoed in my mind. She's with someone else and that someone wasn't me. I hobbled out of the department, leaning on my patient chart for support. My ass hurt, but my heart hurt more. As I reached the stairwell, I saw them at the end of the hall. He was speaking to her in low tones, gently wrapping a scarf around her neck. Maya had her head down and it looked like she was smiling. It was the way she used to smile at me. Her eyes would crinkle at the corners, looking like they held all the light in the world. Suddenly, the bustling hospital faded into silence. The only thing I could hear was the heavy, rhythmic thud of my own heart, each beat like a hammer blow. That night, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw a clip of my Wipeout stream had gone viral again. Someone had set it to a dramatic synthesized voiceover, like a movie trailer. One fateful spin, a tragic tear. His surgeon X was standing near. I shut my phone off and stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep at 2 a.m. I opened my contacts. Her name was saved as Dr. Reed. Her profile picture, the blank white square. I typed out a message. That guy, is it your boyfriend? A minute later, she replied, Fiank. I felt my finger tremble as I stared at the word. But a second later, another message came through. That's the guy my mom set me up with. She really likes him. I shot up in bed, a tearing pain erupting from my backside. Shit, I think I popped a stitch. Right in my chest. A single ray of light had just broken through the darkness. The next day, I limped back to the hospital. I made another appointment with her. The nurse at the front desk recognized me. Didn't he? Just have your dressing changed yesterday, sir. It's cold, I said. I came back to see if she could add an extra layer of gauze. The nurse stared at me, utterly baffled. When Maya saw me, she had a look on her face that screamed, Are you kidding me? Leo, are you just trying to find reasons to be here? I sat down, my expression serious. I do have a reason. What is it? I'm here to win you back. She froze for a second, and let out a cold laugh. Your ass is barely holding itself together and you have the audacity to chase me? I nodded earnestly this time. And chasing you with my heart, not my ass. Or she laughed, but it was the sound of pure exasperation. Get out of here, don't disrupt my work. Hayden Roof, she sighed. You know why I can't stand you, Liam? It's because you think you can win me back with some grand emotional gesture, but you don't get it. It was never that I didn't love you. It was that loving you hurt too damn much. I looked down, my throat tight. Do you still love me now? She didn't answer. Instead, she said softly, your stitches are ready to come out. Come back tomorrow. I looked into her eyes, and for a second I felt a desperate urge to cry. I knew she was softening, but I also knew that this time she wouldn't come back easily, but I wasn't afraid. I'd been hurt. I'd been torn apart. I'd been stitched back together. Now it was my turn to do the same for us, one careful stitch at a time. It was Colorectal Health Awareness Week at the hospital. Maya was in charge of the main educational seminar, and I, through a strange twist of fate, ended up as the volunteer model for her presentation. That's a long story. I had just dropped by that morning to bring her coffee and, trying to be charming, said something like, just give me a chance to prove myself. In response, she nonchalantly added my name to the volunteer list. So, there I was, standing at the entrance to the hospital's main auditorium, staring at a giant red banner that read, "But health is wealth. Love your colon." I nearly collapsed on the spot after the host introduction. A promotional video played on the large screen behind the stage. Before I could process what was happening, I heard a painfully familiar scream echo through the speakers. My own no. Not in there. On the screen was a still frame from my viral video, showing me being wheeled into the ER. Clutching my bleeding rear, the text below it read, Case Study 1. Sphincter laceration due to improper use of office equipment. A patient has since made a full recovery thanks to corrective surgery performed by Dr. Maya Reed. I was mortified. I wanted the stage to swallow me whole. I glanced down at Maya in the front row. She was perfectly composed, but I could see the faintest hint of a smile playing on her lips. She did this on purpose. He absolutely did. This was her revenge for my ghosting her 5 years ago. This was my public execution. I should have been furious, but instead, I suddenly started to laugh standing on that stage in front of a packed room of doctors, nurses, and volunteers. I raised the microphone to my lips. Hi everyone, I said. I'm the guy from the video. A few chuckles rippled through the audience. I took a deep breath, but I'm not just here today to talk about colorectal health. Maya's expression shifted. Liam, what are you doing? I looked right at her, my gaze unwavering. My voice was clear and steady. 5 years ago, a young woman saved her father's life, but she never got the chance to tell her boyfriend why she had to leave, and that boyfriend, convinced he was the one who'd been wronged, who'd been betrayed, did the only thing a coward could do. He blocked her, deleted her, and ran away from her life. He thought he was setting her free, but really he was just running away from a love that scared him. Her hands, I continued, my voice getting thick, can stitch up any wound. But she doesn't know that on the day she left, his heart was torn open to my eyes were starting to burn. I lowered my voice so only she could hear me. Maya, I'm so sorry. Her face was unreadable, but her knuckles were white where she gripped her binder. I'm not here to win you back with a big speech, I said, my voice strong again. I'm just here to tell you I want to stitch you back into my life. And this time, I won't miss a single thread. The room was silent. The only sound was the C-ring, wide background music from the presentation video still looping. I walked off the stage and stood in front of her. I gave a small, formal bow. The last time we were like this, you told me to bend over, I said with a weak smile. Now, it's my turn to beg you to turn around. She didn't say a word. He just turned and walked away. I chased after her, catching her by the wrist just as a figure rounded the corner. It was Hervey Angdar Spencer Hayes. Carter, have you no shame? He demanded, stepping between us. His face a mask of indignation. You humiliate her in front of her colleagues? She's a respected surgeon, not a character in one of your pathetic little internet shows. Hay was about to retort when Maya spoke, her voice calm and firm. He didn't humiliate me. She looked at Spencer. But you did. You. They've been pretending for weeks that I agreed to this engagement, but you never once asked me what I actually wanted. Spencer froze. Speechless, she pulled her hand free and turned her steady gaze on me. Liam, do you know what your greatest strength is? My throat felt tight. What? You're shameless, she said. So completely shameless that I can reject you 3 times. And you'll still follow me onto a stage and hijack my seminar. I'm not afraid of being embarrassed, I said quietly. I'm only afraid of losing the chance to love you again. The tiny muscle twitched at the corner of her mouth. And so familiar with that stupid face of yours, I could map out every pore. I leaned in closer. Then you must be tired of seeing it look so pathetic, right? She shot me a glare. If you say one more cheesy line, I will drag you back in there and personally inspect your stitches for the whole auditorium. I smiled, and this time she couldn't help herself. The corner of her lips curved up into a real, genuine smile. Cool. Yeah, when you come in for your stitch removal tomorrow, she said. Don't be late. I blinked, then a huge grin spread across my face. Okay, if you don't want me to be late, I'll never be late again for the rest of my life. As the events finally wrapped up, she walked ahead of me down the hall. I hurried to catch up. So, just now, were you maybe a little bit moved? She didn't turn around, no. Then, why were you crying? She stopped short. I wasn't. I saw it. Your eyes were watery. The stage lights were too bright. I chuckled softly. Ray still a terrible liar. She stopped and slowly turned to face me. Liam, don't think that just because you say a few nice things, I'm going to forgive you. Do you have any idea what I went through these past 5 years? Lying in a hospital bed for months, going through painful physical therapy where even coughing felt like it would tear my insides apart in my lowest moments. But I was in so much pain, I wasn't thinking about my dad or the doctors. I was thinking about you. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. I thought you'd look for me. I thought that when I woke up, you'd be there, but instead, what I got was a notification on my phone. A new picture from you on Facebook. You were out drinking. You were with another girl. And the caption said, if anyone brings up my ex again, we're not friends anymore. My breath hitched. In that moment, all words failed me. She turned her back to me, her voice a broken whisper. I thought the most painful thing in the world was your stupid ass. But I was wrong. It was my heart. The day my stitches were scheduled to be removed, I showed up at the hospital 40 minutes early. The nurse told me Drive Reed was on rounds and that I should wait in the exam room. I sat on the edge of the gurney. My entire body tensed, to be honest. I was more nervous about getting the stitches out than I was when she put them in this time. I wasn't sure if she'd be removing them with love or with a vengeful fury. The door clicked open and I heard her brisk footsteps. She was in her white coat, her hair in a high ponytail. Her even colder than before. Why are you sitting so stiffly? She asked, glancing at me. Afraid of popping a stitch? Isn't there anything else you're afraid of? She asked bluntly as she pulled on a pair of gloves. I looked at her, my voice earnest. Her father for a second, but she didn't look up. Lie down, no more talking, she said flatly. Let us see how you've healed. I lay on my side, my heart pounding like a drum solo. Her fingers gently pressed the skin around the scar. Does this hurt? It hurts everywhere you touch. She chuckled. I said you didn't used to be so smooth. You didn't used to be so good at stabbing people. She just snorted and went back to removing the stitches. The only sounds in the room were the snip of hers scissors and the frantic beating of my heart when the last stitch was out. She said quietly, you've healed better than I expected. I let out a breath. I didn't realize I'd been holding. Does that mean we have a chance to heal better than you expected to? Her fingers tightened on the dressing she was applying, pressing it down harder than necessary. I winced. Are you trying to make sure I remember that line? I'm just afraid you won't learn your lesson if it doesn't hurt. She stripped off her gloves and tossed them in the bin. All right, you can go now. I didn't move my, can we go back? Her back was to me. She was silent for a long time before she finally spoke, her voice low. Liam, do you remember the last thing you said to me during our last fight 5 years ago? I frowned, trying to recall. I shook my head. You said, "Fear not." Thank you for providing the next part of the article. I have edited it to maintain consistency with the previous chapter, changing the protagonist's name to Liam Carter and making other minor corrections for improved flow and grammar. Here is the revised chapter. Owing to tell me what's going on, then I might as well just assume you're dead. My heart seized in my chest. Do you know what I was thinking, lying on that operating table, when I heard the surgeon say, "Ready to resect the liver?" She turned around, her eyes red-rimmed. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid I wouldn't wake up and I'd actually become the dead person you told me to be. I stood up and walked toward her. One slow step at a time, then, let me tell you now. I said that was the stupidest, cruelest thing I have ever said, and I would do anything to take it back. If you'll give me another chance, I'll spend the rest of my life making up for every wrong word, every stupid mistake. She looked at me, and for the first time, the walls in her eyes were gone. But I don't want to be broken by you again, only to have to stitch myself back together. You can fix a wound. Liam, that doesn't mean I can fix a heart. I reached out and gently brushed my fingers against hers. Then, let me do it this time. Let me be the one to do the stitching, just don't pull away. She bit her lip, saying nothing, but she didn't pull her hand away. That night, she sent me a text, just 2 words. Eaten yet? I blinked, my fingers flying across the screen waiting for you. 5 minutes later, she was at my door, holding a container of steaming hot chicken noodle soup. I just stared at her. You made this for me. She glared. Who else would I make it for? My worst enemy. I grinned like an idiot. She put the soup down and went into my kitchen to heat up some rice, muttering to herself, "How do you not have a single vegetable in this entire house? I haven't really left the apartment much. Who are you afraid of?" She peeked her head out of the kitchen. "And yet, you still managed to present yourself so professionally on that stage." I held my bowl, trying not to laugh. I've had a revelation. Only by prostrating the body can one resurrect the relationship. She rolled her eyes and disappeared back into the kitchen, but I saw at the corner of her mouth was turned up. Not a smirk, not a cold smile, a real one, but kind she couldn't hide. And in that moment, I knew the stitches around her heart were starting to come out too. That night, for the first time in 5 years, my stayed over. She sat on the sofa reviewing patient files, while I sat at the dining table finishing the soup. She'd made the steam rising from the bowl made me feel dizzy with nostalgia. We used to sit just like this. She'd be studying and I'd be watching a movie, and she'd suddenly ask me, "If I become a surgeon one day and you get sick, will you let me operate on you?" "Absolutely not," I'd said. She'd frowned. "Why?" "Because you'd be cursing me out the whole time you were stitching me up. I'm afraid you'd slip and stab something important." She rolled her eyes. "Then you better stay healthy for the rest of your life." And I had for 5 years, right up until a faulty chair lift sent me straight to her operating table. Life has a funny, twisted sense of humor. After my shower, I poked my head into the living room. She was still there. "Are you leaving tonight?" She looked up at me. "Do you want me to?" "I want you to stay." She closed her file. "That wound of yours isn't fully healed. You can't be doing anything strenuous." I nodded, though a part of me was disappointed. "I can be still." "Still?" Her gaze turned dangerous. "I just want to hold you while we sleep." I added quickly, "Nothing else." She raised an eyebrow. "Were you sure you can control yourself?" I held up my hands in a solemn oath. "Absolutely." And so we ended up lying in my bed, separated by a pillow barricade. I stared at the ceiling, hardly daring to breathe. She was turned away from me. Her breathing even after half an hour. She shifted, turned over, and her hand brushed against mine. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "I can't fall asleep unless you're holding one." I wrapped an arm around her, feeling like I just won the lottery. I said, my voice barely a whisper. Huh? When did you start to forgive me? She snuggled into my chest. Her voice muffled probably the moment you were on that stage looking like a complete idiot, talking about stitching me back into your life. I chuckled. You have a weird taste in men. She laughed too, her nose brushing against my chest. You, Ray, a special kind of stupid. It's almost pitiful. I leaned down and kissed the top of her head. I want to be pitifully in love with you for the rest of my life. When I woke up the next morning, she was already in the kitchen, making oatmeal sunlight stream through the blinds. I leaned against the doorframe watching her finally chop some fruit, her movements practiced and quiet. In that moment, all I wanted was for her to stay in my life. Just like this, forever. I walked over and hugged her from behind. She tilted her head. Why are you up so early? I was afraid you'd left. She chuckled. Have I turned you into a clinger? I only cling to you. I rested my chin on her shoulder. Inhaling the faint scent of her shampoo, Maya, I asked suddenly, will you move back in? I'm still there. Aren't you afraid we're moving too fast? I'm more afraid of losing you again. He didn't answer. I knew she was considering it. A week later, I took her to meet my mom. When my mom heard that my new girlfriend was a colorectal surgeon, her first reaction was a fan, so she stitches you up just so she could be the one to take them out later. Seems a bit possessive. Mom, I coughed. Please don't. Maya just smiled and extended her hand. Hello, Mrs. Carter, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Maya. My mom raised an eyebrow. So you're the one who told him to put his ass in the air? Maya froze for a second, a blush creeping up her neck. Yes, I am. I thought, this is it. It's over my mother's mouth as a lethal weapon, but to my surprise, my mom patted her hand. Good, honestly. He needs someone who can keep him in line. I like you. After dinner, as I was driving her back to the hospital, she stared out the passenger window, lost in thought. What are you thinking about? I asked. She spoke suddenly. Your mom said it was good that I could keep you in mind. Yeah. She turned to look at me. So if I wanted to be in charge of you forever, would that be okay? They slammed on the brakes, the car coming to a smooth stop on the side of the road. I turned to her, my expression completely serious. Yes, you could be in charge of whatever you want. I'm all yours. I grinned. You tell me where to point it and I'll stitch it. He rolled her eyes, a smile breaking through. Liam, can you please be serious for 1 second? I said, taking her hand and lacing our fingers together, because I've never been more serious about anything in my life. On the 102nd day after we got back together, Maya turned to me and said, I feel kinda bloated. My face went pale. Oh God. Was I too rough last time? She slapped me on the back of the head. Can you not think something positive for once? I held her, inspecting her with panicked eyes. Where? What? Does it hurt? Your stomach? Or back there? Is there any bleeding? She laughed in exasperation. I feel a little nauseous. I don't have an appetite. My expression grew even more grim. Do you have a cold? We need to get you to a hospital for a CT scan. A cold? She finally yelled. What I am saying is, I think I might be pregnant. The air froze. My brain went blank for 3 seconds. And then the first thing that popped out of my mouth was, damn. Am I that good? Her face fell out. She threw a pillow at me and locked herself in the bathroom. 5 minutes later, she emerged holding a pregnancy test and tossed it at me. I stared at the 2 pink lines. My mouth hanging open. Is this for real? She rolled her eyes at. That's fake. Are you going to give birth to it? I was stunned for another 2 seconds, and then a massive, goofy grin spread across my face. It felt like some tightly wound spring inside me had finally snapped while my heart expanded until it felt like it would burst. I swept her into a hug, my voice trembling. We Ray. We're really having a baby? She buried her face in my chest and mumbled, "Yeah, that's all your fault." I held her face in my hands. "Maya Reed," I said with grave seriousness, "and now a man responsible for 3 people." She punched me in the shoulder. "Shut up, who is the third?" "My mom." 2 months later, the hospital held another public health seminar. This time, the theme was "A Healthy Home Starts with a Healthy UA." They had invited several former patients and their families to share their stories. Maya Reed, as a representative of her department, was once again asked to take the stage. I stood beside her, but this time not as a patient. I was there as her husband. The host joked, "Mr. Carter here is one of the most famous cases in the history of our colorectal department." I took the microphone and smiled. "I'd like to thank my wife for her anti-surgical masterpiece, which gave me not only a healthy life, but a happy family." The room erupted in laughter and applause. Maya's ears turned red as she playfully punched my arm. I wrapped my arm around her. "Don't worry," I whispered. "This time I'm not here to beg for a second chance. I'm here to stand proud with our family." The little life growing inside her felt like a testament to our new beginning. We had gone from missed chances, misunderstandings, and torn apart lives to a life of sutures, healing, and rebuilding. We had stitched every last regret back into the fabric of our days, and this time, I wouldn't let her go into surgery alone. This time, I would hold her hand all the way to the delivery room, and then I would stand outside and cry harder than she did. The day our son was born, I paced the hallway like a caged animal, seriously considering ramming my rear into a wall just to create a diversion from the anxiety. A nurse came out and asked who I was. "I'm her husband," I said, my voice cracking. I used to be her most pathetic case. Now I'm her most obedient patient. The nurse stifled a laugh. "Go on in," she said. "She's asking for you." I rushed in to find her drenched in sweat, her hands clutching the bed sheets. I grabbed her and "Honey, bite me. Take the pain out on me." She did. She really bit me. I let out a yelp as tears sprang to my eyes, but I just smiled and squeezed her hand tighter. And it was finally over. The doctor held up our son as a boy. "Wanna see him?" I choked back a sob. "Doctor, can you please check the mother first? Make sure she doesn't need any stitches." From the bed, my exhausted but firm voice cut through the air. "Liam, if you say one more stupid word, the next thing I stitch is your mouth." And we lived happily and chitically ever after.